with a quiff modelled off Justin Bieber. Or maybe that should be Cameron Diaz from There's Something About Mary. What do we really know about this straight white male character, other than the fact his very existence causes social justice warriors to curl up into the fetus position before their river of tears carries them back to Tumblr? Well, he has a love of kicking back doors in, is a bit of a rugged outdoors type like Bear Grylls but without the fetish of drinking his own piss, and his insurance premiums are presumably so high that they're actually doubling as a space probe. I mean seriously, every vehicle he enters ends up as a write-off. I wouldn't even lend him my bike. But underneath this obvious exterior of a would-be hero is a more subtle tale that many overlook. Well, today we're going to lift the lid on his secrets as we visit Nathan Drake's untold story. Said to be a descendant of Sir Francis Drake, a real-life English explorer if you didn't already know, Nate has a knack of following his ancestors' path, going into the unknown in search of lost treasure, venturing into the darkest of holes in search of something valuable. Underneath the pixels, the Nate cake has many character ingredients, such as a liberal amount of Johnny Knoxville for his appearance and charisma, a dash of Indiana Jones for stealing dead people shit, and a sprinkle of John McClane for his grit, as well as a few other not-so-secret ingredients. These influential personalities all being in the mix led to Nathan Drake being compared to all of them for obvious reasons, including Nate being compared to Lara Croft, earning him the title Dude Raider, because he also enters tombs, not in a Brokeback Mountain kind of way. It does seem a man's ring did get Nate into all this trouble, leading him to journey into many a dark back passage. That ring was his family heirloom passed down through the Drake bloodline from Sir Francis Drake himself. It's having the ring in his possession, a knowledge of his ancestors' exploits, and a burning desire for riches that set Drake off on his perilous adventures. Things rarely go smoothly for our American hero, but despite what nefarious villains throw at him, Nate seems to always come up smelling of roses, diving headfirst into the fray with nothing more than bottomless pockets to hold all his ammo and a winning attitude. Nate overcomes the fears that would cripple most people, be it in a gunfight for his life, or hanging from a tiny ledge by his only seemingly steel fingertips. You could be forgiven in thinking Nate's strength lies in his upper body. If you think about it, the way this guy climbs up a sheer face, he should have pectorals like footballs and forearms like fucking Popeye. But it's in his friendship that Nate's strength really lies. He couldn't do all these things alone. It's the same cheeky charm he uses to get out of some of the sticky situations that's helped him build up a close friendship with the small group of unlikely characters who always lend a hand in his time of need. Not to say that he doesn't make some bad decisions or interact with some ropey characters. Drake's line of business mean he often operates outside of the law, so brushing with the criminal element comes with the territory. But it's how Nate deals with his adversaries that help define him as a person, approaching the situation with a live and let live attitude. Unless he's backed into a corner, in which case Drake has no problem tackling things head on, as he can throw down with the best of them. As righteous an act of destroying ancient historical artifacts while following your ancestors' path sounds, we have to remember this everyman's real drive is his unquenchable greed. Unfortunately, Nate is cursed with a fecal form of the Midas touch, meaning everything he touches turns to shit, which is why he can't seem to get his hands on the riches he feels he's so entitled to.
Everything you touch does turn to shit.
Like his trip to South America as he searched for El Dorado, the city of gold, that saw him abandon a giant gold statue at the bottom of the ocean because it was producing Nazi zombies. Or his day trip to the Himalayas where he found Shambhala, which if you've never heard of it, is basically the same place as Shangri-La, but instead of coming away with a giant expensive stone, he found another way the Germans were trying to make Nazi zombies.
How quaint!
Drake decided his third holiday would help him top up his tan, so he visited the desert where he discovered the lost city of Iran, and in a strange twist of fate, didn't find a new way to make zombies, but instead just some trippy tits drugs in the water. His apparently cursed touch has a different effect on the ladies, however, turning their knickers into lead, meaning they drop faster than the price of a used condom. Maybe it's his dogged determination or rugged good looks that gets the ladies frothing at the gash, but wherever his sex appeal lies, it has landed Drake in some sticky situations. Our boy Nate found himself in a menage a trois with a blonde and a brunette, but not the way you're thinking, so put away the lotion creepy bollocks. This three-way saw one person get hurt because the other two were so much more into each other. Okay, so I guess it is like the other type of threesome. I wonder if Nate could have actually landed a three-way. I mean, after all, they are both into him and he has that charisma, plus if all else fails, an over-suggestive drug he could use. Wait, no, Nate doesn't want to be that guy. However, tired of looking at a beautiful woman with a great ass climb up a ladder before him, Nate makes the boneheaded decision of sticking with Goldilocks. One person who doesn't have a problem following a great ass around is Nate's lifelong mentor, Sully. Sully has taught Nate how to be a better thief over the years, as well as providing a free taxi service. But the greatest thing Sully has shown Nate is that cigars are cool. If we really want to build up our case file on Nathan Drake, then we're going to have to dig a little deeper. I think I can sum up this whole franchise with the word identity. To understand what I mean, we'll start with a young Nathan Drake. It turns out that's not his real name. In fact, no one knows his real name at this point. At the age of 5, it seems Nate's mum killed herself and Nate's dad turned him over to an orphanage staffed by a bunch of nuns, as Nathan's father knew religious cults are always looking for impressionable minds. Along with fairy tale stories, the orphanage taught Wickle Nathan about history, which developed his fascination with the English explorer Sir Francis Drake. Realising that the sight of his ass to a vicar would be like a kebab to a pisshead, Nate assumed the name of Nathan Drake after his idol and set off to follow Sir Francis Drake's adventures. It's while trying to procure his now family heirloom that he meets Victor Sullivan, aka Sully, a roguish character who becomes a close friend and mentor. This was a time in Sully's life that he was looking for someone to fill the role of the son he never had, and Nate, like all little boys, wanted a father in his life. Fast forward through the years, skipping over the time, Sully no doubt took Nate to a brothel to become a man, and we look at Nate's women problems. Well, let's be honest, having two attractive women fight over who's going to give you a bucking bronco ride isn't really a problem. Well, not real problems like, say, those stupidly fucking long labels they put on lagers, meaning you have to piss about ripping the twatting things off. Oh yeah, I went there, internet. Hashtag real man problems. Nate's indecisiveness wasn't whether he liked blondes or brunettes. By the way, brunettes for the win, am I right? But rather, who he saw them to be as a person. You see, Nate saw Chloe as someone who didn't have distinct lines between what's right and what's wrong, doing only what was in her own best interest. Whereas he saw Elena as someone who was altruistic and guided by her own moral compass. You know, those preacher types who have no real understanding of the world but instead try to force their worldview on everyone else. Don't throw your shit at them yet, as I'm still walking you through the rest of this. You see, the real reason Drake goes into those dark tombs isn't because he's greedy. Yeah, sure, money is nice, but there are easier ways he could go about bringing in the cheddar. What Drake is really looking for in these mysterious places is himself. By not knowing who his real parents were, he doesn't know his own past, and as a wise Roley will tell you, those who have no past have no future. So Nate did the next best thing, he latched onto someone else's past so he could bring meaning and purpose to his own life. Sully, his cigar token chum, fills the boots of father Nate never knew. Sully giving him what he felt were the necessary tools to survive, and let's face it, a fucked up world wasn't the only thing he gave to Nate. He showed that although you might find yourself in a questionable situation, you can still do the right thing. Not directly, mind you, more that Sully has a streak of doing the right thing when it matters, and showing how important it is to be there for the ones you care about. The reason Nate was so torn between what he wanted in a dancing partner was that he was selecting how he saw his life should be lived, not in the pursuit of his own selfish desires at the cost of others, as would be the case if he chose Chloe, but instead doing right by others, having his morals be his northern star guiding him around, a virtue he sees in Elena. So to sum up the reasons Nathan Drake never got his hands on the untold fortunes he set out to find, is that treasure isn't really what he's after. He's searching for love, purpose and trust, the very things he's found in the most inaccessible areas you could imagine. The hearts of an old crook, a woman who would use anyone to get what she wanted, and a fame-hungry news reporter who could sell out Nate's illegal activities to further her own career, but doesn't. In his quest to follow Sir Francis Drake's adventures, Nate's proven to himself and the world he's not just a disposable person to be abandoned and ignored. Teaching himself foreign languages and ancient history so he could gain access where others were keeping him out, earning that right with his will and wit. So there we have it, case closed. You now know Nathan Drake's untold story. Except it isn't, because the fourth title is about to drop, which may paint this in a different shade. Who knows what information we'll learn? Will we find out who Nate's real mother and father were? Will we have our feelings crushed by killing off Sully? Well, we'll only know when Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is released. Until then, I'll see you next time as we dig a little deeper into another mystery. So, seeing as you've watched to the bitter end, you most likely like knowing things other people don't. So I'll share with you that I'm personally designing some merchandise to accompany some of the videos I'm doing. So to check that out, see the video description. Lastly, I've selected a video you might find interesting to watch. So I'll see you in a bit. Ha! I'm in the desert now!